Pleasant good day. My name's Lee Paige, and I am a resident of Winter Haven, Florida. Um, I was born in 1960 in Jackson, Mississippi at University Hospital, and I stayed there until the age of 5, and, actually 6, I'm sorry. And my parents divorced, and we moved from a very rural area in Mississippi, in between Jackson and Utica, Mississippi. Um, and from there, my parents divorced, and my mother moved myself and my 4 other siblings here to Winter Haven. Since 1967, June 1967, we moved here, moved to Winter Haven, and we were in a very rural area at the time. On a community or a area named after my great-grandfather, George Paige. Page Groves was the area, and Page Grove Baptist Church and the whole community, most of the people there were related. Um, my great-grandfather was George Paige, who lived on a plantation and was the house servant for an individual by the name of Colonel Dabney on a plantation called Burley Plantations. Colonel Dabney was opposed to Uncle Tom's Cabin. He treated the people that worked with him and for him a whole lot different than the way they did. At the end of the Civil War, when the troops surrendered in Vicksburg, Burley Plantation was close enough to Vicksburg that it was a mass unit, and Colonel Dabney's daughter was a nurse. So the majority of the injured and a lot of the injured came to the area where I was raised at after being born in Jackson. As a child, prior to moving to Florida here, I recall there was a cemetery on the plot of land that we owned. Colonel Dabney willed or bequeathed my grandfather over 600 acres of land. And presently, right now, we still inherited some of that. On that property was a graveyard, and that graveyard was a graveyard of Civil War rebel soldiers. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was iconic that it was a place that I grew up in. I ran through the fields and near that area the whole time. So that's one of the poignant aspects of my existence per se. So where we came from. And when I say rural, I mention rural because I had actually never, ever really seen sidewalks before I came here to Winter Haven because it was extremely rural, other than when I went to Jackson. So moved here in 67, and my mother moved with us, like I said, my 4 other siblings, and we moved with her brother, and we stayed here, and I've been here since. Well, I just recall going to school, first grade in Mississippi, and after that second grade year, we were enrolled in Jewett Primary, like a lot of the people who spoke about, and the school was right up the street, approximately 2/4 of a mile. We walked to school. I recall going to Jewett Primary, right there on First Street. Miss Margaret Kelly at the time, who was a member of First Missionary Baptist Church where we attend. She was the cafeteria manager, and we interacted with, and her daughters were classmates of mine. I recall going to have lunch because I don't remember having lunch as a first grader, but second grade when we moved here, we had a lunchroom in the cafeteria, and it was something new for me. And from that point, we always had to eat our food. We had to eat it all in that respect. And she was a very nice lady. I recall uh, interacting with her uh, in primary school. Uh, one of the most iconic people was Miss Isla Frazier. She was a second grade teacher who had a great impact on all of us, and she was a church member. So, I mean, just those are some of the things that I recall as a kid here in the Winter Haven area initially. After growing up here in the area, I got exposed to sports and athletics, and for some reason, um, whether it was um, um, from my parents or my background, I kind of discovered that I had a pretty good eye for athletics. So I ran track, played football, and did a whole lot of things. And as a youth, I started playing official tackle football, and I played with the mayor's son. Lemuel Gathers was the first black mayor here. His son and I, George, were two of the only young kids, black kids on the Exchange Bank Vikings. And I played on that football team. Uh, some of the guys that I played with were both quarterbacks, Robert and Dennis Palumbo. Later on became fighter pilots for the United States Air Force. And we played together. And I moved from the league into high school. And I played football here at Winter Haven, graduated in 1978. Had the opportunity to meet an individual that was a mentor and a guiding factor in my life as well as he is today. His name is James Edward Ward. My senior year, he uh, somewhat navigated my career into college. For some reason, we had phenomenal athletes in the city of Winter Haven. I mean, when I say phenomenal athletes, we had guys like Larry Holloway, Mr. Holloway's brother, who spoke earlier, Bruce. Larry was an iconic running back. And during that time, the Miami Dolphins were undefeated. So everybody in the area were Dolphin fans. I could remember and recite every Miami Dolphin player on the team at the time. And Paul Warfield and Mercury Morris were two phenomenal. One Warfield, a wide receiver, and Mercury Morris was a running back. So everybody wanted to be like them. I was a running back. Everybody wanted to wear number 22 because Mercury Morris was number 22. So I, in fact, um, moved into high school. And when I got to high school, like I said, Mr. Ward recognized our talent. Mr. Ward at the time was the director of the Northeast Complex, which is the new facility, the old facility. It was new compared to this. This was the old rec. That was called the new rec. And now, I don't know, that's the future rec that they're building now. But basically, Mr. Ward, he managed that. And as uh, talent scout per se, he recognized that I had the ability to go to school. We were not well recruited here in Winter Haven for some reason, um, but had some phenomenal athletes. I, in fact, received a scholarship to a small liberal arts school in a place called Sterling, Kansas. It had 500 students. Um, and I went there, and during the course of my career at Sterling College, I grew. And not only did I grew, my talent expanded, and it was noticed as a freshman in a lot of schools like Florida State, Texas Tech, the University of Florida. They started recruiting me. So after 1 year, I moved back to Winter Haven. My mother begged me not to leave school, but I promised her that I would finish if I came back. My last football game was in a place called Hastings, Nebraska, where at 12 o'clock it was 13 degrees at kickoff. So that was kind of a determining factor in me moving back home. But I promised my mom I came back, and I took courses at Polk Community College, which is now Polk State College. I graduated with my AA degree. I had a number of opportunities to go to different schools, but I chose Florida State University. Coach Bowden and the staff kind of convinced me to come up that way. I had a great career there at Florida State, and after playing football at Florida State, I uh, kind of bummed around the NFL and the USFL during the time with different teams. Never did catch on until 1987. I signed a football contract with Tampa Bay. I was actually, I think, the first person to sign an NFL contract from Winter Haven since the schools were integrated. And I think I'm correct in that. And so I played for a short stint with Tampa Bay, and once I finished with Tampa Bay, in 1982, I graduated from Florida State, and I obtained a BS degree, became in criminology, became really interested in the federal law enforcement system. And once I uh, started to pursue a law enforcement career, I worked for a prison for a short period of time at Polk Correctional Institute. After obtaining that certification, I went to work for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for about 4 years. And then after that, I applied and was hired by the United States Department of Justice, and I became a special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration. And in doing so, I traveled the world, worked on a lot of different major investigations, South America, um, Europe, throughout the world. Had the opportunity after working for an extended period of time in the Tampa Bay area. I moved to Nassau, Bahamas, and I was an assistant to the United States ambassador as a drug attaché there. Worked on major international and domestic drug investigations. And during my during the course of the time in the Bahamas, I flew a lot with the United States Army, the 10th Mount out of Fort Drum, New York, and the Black Hawks. We did surface to air interdiction with the Go Fast boats, and also worked with the 24th out of Savannah, and also Coast Guard Station Clearwater. I worked with them as well. So I flew thousands of hours in the Bermuda Triangle, did hundreds of thousands of pounds of illegal drugs, which included cocaine, marijuana, as well as methamphetamines, ecstasy, things of that nature. And to talk about flying, when I was a child, during the Apollo space mission, if I can segue back, during the Apollo, I became extremely interested in the Apollo space program at the time, and I always wanted to fly. As a young kid, when I grew up here in Floresville, my mother didn't know this, but I went out and made me a set of cardboard wings, and I was so interested in flying that I wanted to fly. So I never jumped off that roof with those wings because I probably wouldn't be here. But during the course of that, throughout my life and as a child, I had a passion for flying. Used to draw airplanes all the time. And in 1998, I became a pilot, and I flew in the air services, the air wing with the DEA, and I fly privately now. It's one of my passions. I spent with the DEA probably my last 10 years where we did our area surveillance, and I worked the West Cam camera that you see like when you're watching um, the chases in LA on out on the 5 and things of that nature. So tracking the cars, and I had an infrared system where I tracked bad guys in the woods when they ran away and things of that nature. So it was pretty intense and also did it when we were out to sea and different things of that nature. On the day of 9/11, we were looking for about 600 pounds of marijuana off of the coast of Great Exuma, Bahamas, about 128 nautical miles south of Nassau, and myself and 3 other individuals and a drug dog. And after a while being on the base, on that island, the flight mate from the Black Hawk came running to us and said RTB, which means return to base because America's under attack. So when returned, we returned to base and we went into the office there. I was able to see the last plane hit the second tower and what have you. And it's pretty intense time. We went on total lockdown because I was on a military facility at the time. I was the highest ranking United States government figure on that base. So it was a base that wasn't hot, meaning they didn't have people walking around with locked and loaded weapons, but it took place at that time. So pretty interesting. So that was one of the interesting factors that I contended with as a special agent and working with DEA and in my travels. So had a lot of different ones. I would be here all day if I had the if we had the time. But yeah, pretty interested. As a young man, I have a passion to fly. Uh, I have a passion to cook. My mother, Miss Eunice Page, is a phenomenal cook, and she taught myself, her 5 children, the art of culinary cooking. So there ain't nothing that and it ain't many things that we can't cook and we don't cook. So I do that, and I retired from the Drug Enforcement Administration in 2018. And during the course of my years as working as a special agent, I had a fancy for golf. So now I spend the majority of my time volunteering here at this place that I used to play at when I was 7 and 8 years old. And now at 64, I'm back here uh, doing this. So that's part of my existence, and that's part of what I'm doing here, and that's why I'm back here per se. And there's wonderful people here like Miss Samuels and Miss Merle and Miss Felicia Bristol, and we all do volunteer work to support this community. And my main thing that I like to do is give back. I get the opportunity as a young man. Um, Not sure who told me, but my mom uh, raised 5 of us, and my brother, Emmett, who worked 41 years as a Florida Highway Patrolman, and my one sister worked 38 years as a teacher. I have a sister that's presently in the school system now, and a sister that has 2 more days of driving the school bus, and she's retiring. So I think my mother, Miss Paige, did a great job in doing what she needed to do. My brother and I have been to jail many times, but we only went to jail because we were taking people to jail. So we came home every day. And during the course of that, I'll finish by saying this. One of the things that provided me with a straight and narrow path was um, somebody told me this. I don't know how to give them credit, but they told me to ask yourself 3 questions, Lee Paige, before you do anything. And if you can answer yes to any of those questions, don't do it. Those questions are, if what you're about to do, will it hurt you? Will it hurt the people that love you the most? And will it hurt someone else? If you can answer yes, don't do it. So I think that's what kind of kept me on the straight and narrow, along with my lovely mother and our faith in God. So that's about it. If there's anything else I can help you with, or if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to answer.